On November 28, 2023, the world of business and investing lost its most enigmatic and wise figure. Charlie Munger passed away just shy of his 100th birthday, leaving behind not just a fortune estimated in the billions, but a legacy of practical wisdom that transcends the stock market and touches the very essence of how to live a rational life. While much of the world was hypnotized by the speed of new technologies, the volatility of cryptocurrencies, and the chase for instant gratification, Charlie Munger remained seated in his chair, often with a Diet Coke in hand, reading books on history or science, and speaking hard truths that few were willing to hear. He was world famous as the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway and the longtime partner of Warren Buffett. But to those who studied his methods closely, Munger was much more than just an investor. He was a practical philosopher, an architect of human reason. The story of Charlie Munger does not begin with gold, but with hard work and austerity. Born in Omaha, Nebraska in 1924, he grew up during a time of great economic difficulty. His father was a lawyer, an honest and respected man, but life for the Munger family was far from luxurious. From an early age, Charlie learned that if he wanted something, he would have to work for it. By the age of 13, he had secured a job at the grocery store owned by Warren Buffett's family. Ironically, the two future giants of finance lived in the same city, worked in the same place, and likely crossed paths, but they did not get to know each other deeply at that time. It was in that grocery store that Munger had his first taste of the commercial world and learned a lesson he would carry for the rest of his life: the supreme importance of reliability in customer service. However, Munger's youth was also marked by a personal tragedy that would forge his resilience forever. After returning from serving as a pilot in the Army Air Corps during World War II, a role that taught him the discipline of physics and the reality of risk, he faced a series of devastating personal blows in his late 20s. His marriage fell apart, and shortly after the divorce, his 8-year-old son, Teddy, was diagnosed with leukemia. At that time, there was no cure. Charlie watched helplessly as his son slowly deteriorated. This was a crucible. Most men would have broken under the weight of such grief. Munger described it as the most difficult thing that ever happened to him, yet he refused to let it turn him into a bitter man. He paid for the best medical care available, visited his son every day, and eventually, when Teddy passed away, Munger walked out of the hospital, got into his car, and simply kept going. He learned that self-pity was not a useful emotion. He often said later, "If you can avoid self-pity, you have a massive advantage in life." This stoicism became the foundation of his investment philosophy. In the 1950s, while practicing law, Munger realized that he would never become truly wealthy, just billing hours for his time. He needed equity. He needed to own pieces of businesses. He began investing on the side. His results were so extraordinary that clients started asking him to manage their money instead of just handling their legal cases. This led him to leave the practice of law and start an investment partnership. It was around this time, at a dinner in 1959, that his life path collided permanently with Warren Buffett's. They had met as children, but this meeting was different. They spent hours talking, and Buffett realized that Munger wasn't just a lawyer. He was a financial genius with a temperament made of steel. Their partnership was not always smooth sailing at first. Buffett was a cigar butt investor, buying failing companies for pennies on the dollar, smoking the last puff out of the cigar butt and throwing it away. Munger, however, had a different vision. He urged Buffett to stop buying cheap, bad businesses and start paying fair prices for wonderful businesses. "It's better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price," Munger argued, "than a fair company at a wonderful price." This shift in thinking transformed Berkshire Hathaway from a mediocre textile mill into the colossal conglomerate we know today. It was Munger who pushed Buffett to buy See's Candies, a move that taught them the power of durable competitive advantages and brand loyalty lessons that funded their later acquisitions of companies like Coca-Cola and Geico. But to reduce Charlie Munger to just a stock picker is to miss the point entirely. Munger's greatest contribution was his system of mental models. He believed that you cannot be a wise person if you only see the world through one lens. "If you only have a hammer," he famously said, "everything looks like a nail." To make good decisions, you need a latticework of mental models drawn from the major disciplines: physics, biology, mathematics, psychology, and history. He was a multidisciplinary thinker. When he looked at a business, he didn't just look at the income statement. He looked at the psychological incentives of the managers, the biological competition within the industry, and the mathematics of the moat. He understood that the world is not a linear sequence of events, but a complex, interconnected web where cause and effect are often separated by time and space. One of the most powerful mental models Munger championed was the concept of inversion. He often quoted the mathematician, "Go be invert. Always invert." Instead of asking how to get rich, Munger would ask, "How can I guarantee I stay poor?" The answers were simple: procrastinate, abuse substances, have unreliable habits, and learn nothing new. Therefore, to be successful, one simply had to avoid those behaviors. In investing, instead of asking, "How can I make the highest return?" he would ask, "How can I avoid losing money?" By focusing on avoiding stupidity rather than trying to be brilliant, he achieved brilliance. This inverted thinking led to his obsession with the margin of safety, never paying too much for an asset. It's leaving room for error, because the future is inherently unpredictable. He knew that it is impossible to predict the economy, interest rates, or the market perfectly, so one must prepare for the worst-case scenario. Munger was also a fierce critic of modern financial fads, particularly cryptocurrencies and high-frequency trading. He called Bitcoin rat poison squared, not because he was a technophobe, was actually very interested in technology, but because he valued substance over hype. He believed that an investment should produce cash flow and have intrinsic value. He detested the idea of getting rich quick by trading pieces of paper or digital tokens back and forth without creating any real value for society. To Munger, an investment was a vote of confidence in the productivity of the real economy. He believed in the Ben Franklin style of virtue, honesty, integrity, and reliability. He often said that the best way to get a good partner is to be a good partner. Berkshire Hathaway's success was largely built on its reputation, because they were known for never screwing the people they did business with. They were offered deals that no one else saw. Another core tenet of his philosophy was the power of patience. In a world obsessed with quarterly earnings and daily market fluctuations, Munger advocated for sitting on your hands. He famously said, "The big money is not in the buying and the selling, but in the waiting." He believed that the stock market transfers money from the impatient to the patient. He was willing to wait years, even decades, for the perfect pitch. This discipline required a temperament that could endure boredom and volatility without flinching. Most people cannot stand to see their portfolio go down or sit in cash for extended periods. Munger thrived on it. He understood that compounding interest, the eighth wonder of the world, only works if you give it time. He held investments like Coca-Cola and the Washington Post for decades, allowing the snowball of wealth to grow exponentially. Toward the end of his life, Charlie Munger became a sort of modern-day sage. His annual speeches at the Daily Journal Corporation were legendary. Thousands of people would fly in just to hear a nonagenarian talk for hours without notes. Answering questions on everything from economics to marriage to the school system, he didn't sugarcoat his opinions. He criticized the education system for teaching too much theory and not enough practical wisdom. He argued that schools should mimic the apprenticeship model of the past, where students learn by doing. He believed that a smart person learns from his mistakes, but a truly wise person learns from the mistakes of others. His goal was to teach people how to think, not what to think. He wanted to inoculate people against the folly that plagues human decision-making biases like envy, reciprocity, and confirmation bias. One of the most touching aspects of Munger's life was his second marriage to Nancy. Barry, after his first divorce and the tragedy of his son's death, Munger was heartbroken. He met Nancy through his friends, and she became his rock. She was sophisticated, intelligent, and incredibly kind. Together, they built a large family and a life of intellectual curiosity. They were partners in every sense of the word. Nancy was the one who encouraged him to buy the boat he loved and to design houses, which became a hobby of his. Munger loved architecture and spent years designing complex, functional homes that focused on the flow of human interaction. This love for structure and design mirrored his approach to life. Everything should have a purpose. Everything should fit together logically. Nancy's death in 2010 was a huge blow to Charlie, but he continued his work with the same vigor, always driven by a sense of duty to his family and his partners. In his final years, Munger remained razor-sharp. Even at 98, he was reading the Financial Times every day and engaging in complex business dealings. He was the architect behind the transformation of the Daily Journal into a software company, proving that his mind never stopped adapting. He donated millions to universities, specifically to the University of Michigan and the University of California, Santa Barbara, to fund housing projects that followed his architectural principles, focused on community and eliminating isolation. He wasn't just building wealth, he was building environments for human flourishing. Charlie Munger's life teaches us that you don't need to be the smartest person in the room to win. You just need to be the most rational. You need to have the discipline to say no to almost everything so you can say yes to the few opportunities that truly matter. He taught us that reality is overrated, in the sense that we must accept it as it is, not as we wish it to be. If you have a difficult problem, face it early. If you make a mistake, admit it and move on. Do not dwell on the past or blame others. And above all, keep learning until the day you die. He was a polymath who never stopped expanding his circle of competence. As we look back on his century of life, it is clear that Charlie Munger was a rare breed, man of immense wealth, who lived with relative modesty, man of fierce intellect, who spoke in plain language, a realist who was, deep down, an optimist about human potential, if we could only learn to think clearly. He often said, "Go ahead and do it. It's not that hard." He believed that applying common sense and basic morality was all it took to get ahead in the world. While the markets will fluctuate and trends will come and go, the wisdom of Charlie Munger, his emphasis on integrity, patience, and continuous learning, will remain timeless. He left us a roadmap to a better life, not just a better portfolio. And that is perhaps the greatest dividend of all. If you found this deep dive into the life and wisdom of Charlie Munger valuable, please give this video a thumbs up, as it helps the channel reach more people who are looking to improve their thinking. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos on investing, philosophy, and the great minds of business. Drop a comment below and let me know which Charlie Munger quote or principle resonates the most with you. Thank you for watching, and stay rational.